So hi, I'm Isabelle. I graduated from EHL in 2019, so almost 5 years ago. Then I went to outreach for EHLsmile, which we will talk about in a little bit. And when I came back, I started to work for the International Olympic Committee at the Olympic Museum, more precisely as an event and operations intern. And at the end of this internship, I got the opportunity to stay for a temporary contract, then another temporary contract, and now since like 2 years, I've been a cultural events project manager, so I do all cultural events at the Olympic Museum. So yeah. So about EHLsmile, more specifically, I heard it through a friend who was in the committee, she was F&B manager. So during my BOSC 6 or 5 or 6, I don't recall, I ended up working for them for the gala. So I was in charge of F&B and like dealing with the kitchen and like the banquet team. So this is how I heard about the committee, and also during committee fairs and everything. So this is how I knew. And for the project specifically, I knew about the project, but my friend Jean, who was in my intake and that I talked to during BOSC 6, told me that he was planning on going to this project, and he explained everything, and I was just like, let's do this as well. This sounds really interesting. So I went to India. I went to a little town called Bodhgaya. For a bit of context, Bodhgaya is a very spiritual town where there's a lot of people that go on retreats, monks more specifically. And we were in a hotel school. So the project was founded by a local association called Agragami, which basically was a hotel where the staff were students that were taught by teachers, of course. So you had different departments. You had the housekeeping, you had reception, you had F&B, and then kitchen. And in all those areas there were students. So our mission there was, first of all, to go and check on the projects, see how they were going, because the aim of the project is that after a while they become self-sufficient. So the aim of the hotel was for them to have real guests and then to be able to generate enough revenue to sustain themselves. The aim also of this project was to train those students for them to be able to go and get jobs in bigger cities and have better living conditions after a while. Because those students usually came from the countryside and didn't have much job opportunities, especially the girls, who usually in the tradition they end up getting married and staying, not working. So it was an opportunity for them to get some kind of training, which they don't have. And so we went there just to check on the project, to see how they were doing. And then we were there, Jean was there mainly to do everything related to curricular activities, if I'm not wrong. I'm sorry if I am. And I was there also to oversee how to improve F&B and all the facilities, and to see what we could do to improve the revenue during the low season. So we were looking at creating an event space where the locals could rent out this space during low season, where there was not enough clients to generate revenue and suffice, and then not cover the charges of the hotel. So this is a project I worked on, and also helped Jean just chatting with the students. This also helps when there's volunteers there, because their English was quite limited, and we were there like to speak to them in English, help them like interact with people they're not used to interact with. So that was also the benefit. It depended, but usually we woke up with Jean and we got into this habit really fast to meditate, because we met a lot of monks and people who came here to meditate. So we decided to do the same. So we woke up every morning, meditated for like 15 minutes to 20 minutes. He was much better at it than I was. And then we went down to have breakfast served by the students. So we were asked by the teachers to try and ask for kind of complicated things like omelette with a bunch of things in them, just for them to train their English. and we had breakfast, and then we either sat down with the teachers and just touched down on the different things they were working on. I spoke mainly with Ajay, who was the director of the school. We would look at furniture to replace that was the furniture that were in place in the dining room, and sometimes we did little outings where we went to town and like picked some things that we had to buy for the hotel, just some maintenance things. Otherwise, we also would work on with Jean. We would look at all the teaching material and see if everything was up to date, what we could do, what we could improve, if we could add on something, and really spend the day talking to the teachers. We talked a lot with the students, helped them out with a lot of things, just also did a lot of just interaction. For example, the girls would, they loved to braid my hair. So we would have little hair sessions. That was fun. That's a fun work day for me. So yeah, and at night we finished quite early, I would say. I waited for everyone to eat dinner. We ate dinner all together usually, and then went to bed. It was the town was very quiet. It's a very quiet town. It's not where you go out and do a lot of things. So it was very calm end of days. Yeah.
Perfect. That's great.
As a woman in India, it might be a little bit complicated to get your point across, because culturally they will have the tendency to listen more to what a man has to say. It does not mean they would dismiss me. They were all really, really nice. It's just a question of habits. So they would be much less inclined to listen to my opinions. So we just had to work together with Jean to make sure that my point came across. And this was really helpful to be the both of us for that, I would think. But after a while, and I think Ajay was a wonderful person, and he still is. He just sent me a couple pictures on WhatsApp the other day. So he's doing great. Ajay was really open-minded and really listened to me and was really supportive. But it's true that dealing with other people, also with the students, sometimes was a bit challenging. The language barrier is also a bit challenging. But otherwise, I think, yeah, the main challenge was just communication. Also different, they're not used to work fast. They are much slower because of the habits, the culture. Again, this is not meant to sound like a mean thing, I would say. It's just, I guess in EHL, you're used to work with a lot of different cultures, and maybe you can see that, but really in India, it's a much different way of working, and they say yes, 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 and then it never happens. So you need to keep insisting and push for the things you want. So also that was really challenging, just to learn how they work, to be able to work the same way, because as a foreigner that comes to India, it's important that you adapt yourself to their way of work and not try to make them change to fit your standards, I would say.
Perfect. And so the last question.
Well, definitely the cultural aspect, the fact that here at EHL, we have so many nationalities, so many different types of people, so many different profiles. I think that was really, really helpful for me to just be aware as I was going that it was not going to be the standard way of working. And also, as I did, for example, my first internship I did when I was in EHL was in Mexico. I was already sensible to these kinds of differences, because in Mexico the way of working and dealing with people is also drastically different from Switzerland in general. So I think that really helped. And also the teaching materials, like where I had to budget things for the hotel, to look at the revenues and have, I was not an expert, of course, but I understood everything they were showing me in terms of expenses, and I think my training allowed me to get some more ideas and know how like to be more cost effective and things like that, basically. So it helped a lot. I was really happy because we changed the entire furniture of the dining room, and it was really pretty at the end. So I was really happy that I managed to make them order the furniture. So that was a win for me. And also, but I think the most proud thing is not while I was there that it happened, but I see two of the students that were there while I was working. Now they're both working in like big hotels I think one is in Delhi and the other one has to be in Mumbai. I'm not sure anymore, but both of them are working. They post pictures all the time with their colleagues, and Mukesh, like, he takes these pictures of his dishes. Like, he has evolved so much, and I'm just so proud of them for like getting through it. They were really motivated while they were there, so I'm really, really happy for them, and I hope they're happy.
Are they working in F&B?
Yes, F&B kitchen.
Okay.
Yeah, more specifically in hotels. Yeah, in the big cities. I think coming back from this place in general, just you tend to worry less about the little problems in life. It's easier to think, wow, I'm really lucky I'm here. They're also lucky they're there. I did not see that as poverty or them to be like needing things. It was just a different culture and just allowing them to be educated on what could be offered outside of what they were taught. I also think we're very lucky here to have this openness on the world, which they don't necessarily have. So I think it just helped me just feel more lucky about, just living here, having access to the things I do. And also I came back with a lot of knowledge about this culture, because I think that people tend to see India as a place where women are treated poorly and where, everybody's not happy and everybody is either very poor or very rich. So I'm not saying that those stereotypes are untrue. What I'm saying is that there are beautiful places, beautiful people, that if you take some time and just learn about their culture and where they come from, maybe you won't be so judgmental next time you meet some of them. So before I left, I was obviously very nervous because, again, I had heard a lot of things about India, so I was very scared about safety and how people would interact with me. So that was a big apprehension I had, because I was scared that I was going to feel unsafe. Which was not the case, not in Bodhgaya. In Delhi, maybe a little, but in Bodhgaya, I didn't feel threatened. I didn't feel like somebody was going to attack me. People were actually really nice. So that was a very good surprise. And I wasn't expecting as much challenge for me to get my point across. So it was just something that kind of surprised me of, oh, you really need to go and push for your ideas, otherwise nothing's going to happen. And yeah, but as we've talked about before, I unfortunately had to leave a bit abruptly because I got sick. I did not expect to get sick, but I did. And I had to, even though I really wanted to stay, and I had to be reasonable and eventually come back a bit earlier. So yeah, that was really unexpected.